Hey, what's going on, all of you Keep the Changers? Thank you for joining us for another week of the Keep the Change podcast. It is absolutely one of my favorite places to be when I just hang out with incredible people that are people of value that add value to others. And Mickey Seelye and Stan Qualls are two of the people that I respect so much in the automotive industry. They are actually friends of the show. They've been on here before, but it's been a bit. And we saw each other at in Atlanta at the CBT studios when we got to be interviewed separately on Adam Marburger's show. And it was a homecoming for me. And to hang out with these guys is really special. But I'm very selfish, and that I asked them right away if they could be on the podcast because I wanted to just have 40 minutes or so just to hang out and to tap into their expertise. So, Mickey, Stan, welcome to the Keep the Change podcast, fellas.
Thanks for having us. We're glad to be back.
I'm really excited about this. I think we're just at a perfect time for this. Our industry is in some ways getting rocked, in other ways the people are rolling. So I want to get your take on all of that. But before we get started, either one of you who want to start, tell us a little bit about your history. Seelye Auto Group, by the way, was founded in 1963 by Donald J. Seelye and his sons Mike and Pat. Mickey is the grandson now running it. And then Stan is the vice president of Seelye Auto Group and also the chairman of the NADA Kia 20 Group. So these guys have great resumes, great stories. But guys, I'm going to let you do your thing, and I'm going to stay out of this. Tell me a little bit about your history that you feel is appropriate, and then we're going to ease on into culture in our businesses. Whoever wants to start.
Like you said, Seelye Auto Group's been here since 1963 in Southwest Michigan. Where we're sitting right now, this is my office at Seelye Ford. It's one of our 5 stores, and this was the starting point for us. So my grandfather was in the Marine Corps in World War II. He had dropped out of high school. He ended up getting his GED when he came back. He was wounded severely in war, in battle on Iwo Jima, and almost lost his life. And when he got back, those were a little bit different times. He didn't get a glass eye. He was shot. He lost his eye. He put a patch over it, and he was bagging groceries. That was his first job back from the war, and they fired him because one of the customers didn't like the way that he looked. And that seems unimaginable today in 2026, but it wasn't then. And I just know that he was devastated by that. But God was opening another door for him that he had no idea was happening. And it landed him at the local Ford dealership in Kalamazoo, which was not Don Seelye Ford at the time. And he took a job as a janitor and did that job for several years. Again, he got his GED, but he wasn't really it was very minimal as far as his education. But my grandpa, one thing he was a very hard worker. He had really high character from the Marine Corps. Before that, he was living a pretty wild, crazy life, was probably doomed to prison or jail, honestly. He would have been the first to admit that. But the Marine Corps straightened him out, taught him discipline, taught him structure, helped mold his character. And those are the things that he went a long way in life with. And so he ended up selling cars when a lot of the salespeople told him that he'd be good. He actually fought him on it for years. And I know I'm not doing a short version of the story, by the way. But he fought him on it for years. It took him probably a couple years to convince him to try it. And he did great with it. And he just kept working his way up through hard work and being determined, became a manager. This over several years, over a long period of time. And when the owner of the dealership at that time was ready to sell, he didn't have any sons or daughters who were interested in the business. He offered to sell it to my grandfather. And so he took him up on that, bought it. That's when it became Don Seelye Ford in 1963. It would have been located at a different location in Kalamazoo than it's currently at today for about the first 5 years. That's where it would have been, downtown Kalamazoo. Now it's on Stadium Drive for anybody that's familiar with Kalamazoo. And so that was the starting point of Seelye Auto Group. And like probably most businesses that have been around that long, we've had some great stretches. We've had some tough stretches. We've had stretches where we thought we weren't going to make it through. Any business owner out there, if they're being honest about it and they've been around long enough, can probably relate to that. It's not all the glory sometimes that people think it is, but we've weathered some storms in 63 years. It's been a lot of change, and I've been running the dealership now for about 13 years. My grandfather would have passed in 1997, so he's been gone now for quite a while. But he left us a nice foundation that we still hold true today with a lot of the things that we do. First and foremost, we honor God with our platform and with our business. It's been really nice, though, because I feel like a lot of the things that have honored God, because he's always going to be first in what we do, they do naturally line up with a lot of things that my grandfather believed in and represented. So it's in that order for me. I think about God daily when I make decisions. We pray a lot together. We pray a lot individually in making decisions. So God is in the forefront of my thoughts as the leader of this company. At the same time, I think about my grandpa a lot as well, and just want to make sure that I'm honoring God and my grandfather both in that order with the way that we do things. A lot of those things are still helping us be extremely successful today. The world hasn't changed that much when it comes to certain principles as far as integrity, doing business the right way, treating people with respect. There's a lot of things that are still the same, folks, today that were important back in 1963. And there's a lot of things that are different too, and that's important to be open to those changes. But we have humble beginnings, clearly, with what I just shared with everybody. We feel like we're built on hard work. We feel like we're built on community. We're built on, for those that have families, and we all have families because we all have friends. We all have people that we care about, valuing those things and honoring those things. And, we grind, we work extremely hard, and we play hard. We believe in both. And we believe in balance too. We believe in working as hard as we can while we're here, but having boundaries and getting out of here and spending time with our family and friends. So I still love the business today. It's changing rapidly. We feel like this year has been a tough year, but we're having a great year, a better year than last year, and we've had to make some adjustments. And you better be ready to pivot in life, and you better be ready to pivot in the automotive industry because it's coming at us fast. So I've already taken enough time, but that's kind of our story in a nutshell.
Well, that's so good. I've got to go where we go, and that is to talk about your faith and how important your faith is in your private life and faith in your business. And as I hear it, I know this about you. I so respect this about you, that you are not afraid to talk about your faith and make it forefront in your business and in how you live your life. And I know that about both of you. So did you always, I've got to go here, Stan, so I'm going to put you on pause for a second. But Mickey, did you always have this faith growing up? Was this something you got in later life? Was it something that you're generational? Tell me a little bit about that, because it is so strong.
Yeah, so I didn't have it early in life. My parents did not introduce me to church at a young age. My family did not go to church. And there was always, to me, though, so I did have family members that went to church. So my grandma on my mom's side of the family, she was, I would refer to her as a devout Catholic. My grandparents on that side of the family lived out in Omaha, Nebraska. And I remember going to church with my grandma when we would visit, specifically around the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas. I would go to mass with her sometimes because she would invite me. And quite frankly, Bart, at that time, I just wanted to see my grandma because we only got a chance to see them probably once or twice a year tops. And so that was a way that I could just get a little bit of one-on-one time with my grandma, going to church with her. I had no idea what church was. But there's no doubt that in those moments, some seeds were dropped, right? I can see that now in hindsight. I don't know that my parents were necessarily against church. I would consider them agnostic. They definitely weren't atheists by any means, but they definitely weren't bringing my sisters and I to church when we were young in our youth by any means. And so God had to kind of snatch me up, like I feel like he did. That's what it felt like over some time, and sent me some messengers into my life that spoke truth to me. And And then at that time, I was at a point in life where I was willing to receive it and give it a chance. So, but yeah, definitely not something that I was raised in. Something I found later in life. I think I got baptized when I was 26 years old. I'm trying to do the math in my head right now. I ended up getting baptized when I was 26, and quite frankly, from that moment, it's just been an amazing ride with God. And as anybody knows who's been following the Lord, it hasn't always been easy. It hasn't always been what I expected it or wanted it to be, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's first in my life. He's worthy of that. To me, nobody's going to ever be able to convince me at this point in my life that he's not real the way that he's shown up in my life. And I just want to spread that with as many people as possible who are willing to consider it, because it changed my life in ways that I could have never imagined. And I just want as many people as possible to experience that change that I've experienced, and have it transform their lives into something special that maybe they never imagined it could possibly be. Whether I know those people or not, whether they're strangers that hear it on this podcast, or they're close family members and friends who I've known for 30 plus years, to me, that's not the point. The point is any opportunity that I have to speak where somebody's willing to listen, I'm just going to speak of the goodness of God and what he's done for me.
Yeah, that's so good. Thank you for that. And again, one thing about these podcasts, you never know where they're going to go. And obviously, the three of us are people of faith, and we believe deeply in that. But it is, like you said, when you first started out, it is on top. It is the most important piece. Listening to this that needs to hear that, right? And thank you again for that. So, the same thing happened to me, man. I think I told you this. My dad, my mom and dad took me to Unitarian church. I have no idea what they've talked about because I slept. And my brother was 5 years older. When he was old enough to drive, we wouldn't go to church. We'd go to Waffle House. And I think it was White Castle. That's where we went. We went to White Castle instead of going to church. So I knew nothing about Unitarian. I don't know how I ended up here, but I know 10 years sober, I drove into a Christian church, walked and sat in the back, and heard the pastor talk about Romans 12:2. Do not be conformed by the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. At that point, I was 10 years sober, but I had other addictions, and I was absolutely a train wreck. And they had a Celebrate Recovery there too. And I ended up hearing the pastor checking into Celebrate Recovery because I wanted a spiritual program in my recovery walk. And that was the beginning of this walk with Christ and where I am now. And it's gotten so much deeper, man. It gets, even the last month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever, it just keeps getting deeper because I keep saying yes. I keep being obedient. And I'm, like you said, I'm not shy. I'm going to tell people whether they want to hear it or not. But I'm obviously don't want to push it on them, but I also want them to be able to have this incredible experience. Last thing I'll say about this, a week before my mom died, you guys, I was having lunch with her. And there was like times when I'd say, hey, Mom, you want to hear about Jesus? And she'd say, no. And she was 97. She said, that's sweet for you, Bart. I'm so glad for you, but I'm okay. I brought her to Christ a week before. A week later, she passed away. And I know for a fact, I'll tell you sometime off a podcast, I know for a fact that she heard me. And I know for a fact, oh heck, I'll just tell you now. The day she died, I was at a dealership. And I cried and I laid on the floor and I was just devastated. And I drove to the airport. And get this, on the way to the airport, I looked up in the clouds and there she was. And I heard her say to me, Bart, it's true. True story, man. I pulled off the road. I just cried like a baby. And I just felt, oh my gosh, everything that I've been led to believe, I just got credibility in that moment. It was crazy. But again, we got a lot to talk about today. Brother Stan, talk to me, buddy.
What would you like to talk about?
I'd like to talk about a little bit about your story, whatever you feel comfortable with.
Sure.
And then when we get that through that, I want to talk about how as you've gone through the rocky roads in the last year, or go through this business piece, have both of you just walk through. You've already talked about your faith, Mickey, but talk about culture and what it means in your businesses. But Stan, I'd like to hear from you and let people hear from where you've come.
I think that I'm probably, I think Mickey and I kind of cover the whole spectrum of the car world. I think that Mickey's side of it, of those generational uh, people that are representing their fathers and grandfathers and great grandfathers who've kind of cut their teeth and built the automotive industry in this world the way it is. They're the ones that are carrying the torch now through a very transitional time. And he kind of represents that side of it. I think I kind of come in on the other side of it, of those who didn't necessarily have a story or maybe an identity, were struggling in life, trying to figure out who they were, how they were, made every mistake known to man. And for a lot of us, we just ended up in the car business some way, somehow. And in that, we found our calling, we found our identity, and we were able to really flourish and express ourselves in a way that brought a lot of value to our families, our name, the community, our peers in the car business. And I think I kind of come from that cut of cloth, and where I'm grateful and thankful, it is to God for opening those doors, for shaping my heart and molding me through all those fires and giants I had to fight and so forth and so on. But the fact that 13 years ago, Mickey and I have been together for about 17 years, but 13 years ago, I got a phone call from him inviting me into his adventure, his journey. That invitation was on a blessing and a calling from God that we have honored for the last 13 years. And God has blessed and planted the seeds of our obedience into what we have now, which is Seelye Auto Group and a platform in our community. And so I'm just thankful. And sometimes I wake up and pinch myself that I'm even in this story and that I'm in this ride, because God has been so gracious and so kind to allow my name to be written in it. I just want to make sure I'm a good steward of that, and I honor that as I fight my flesh and all the things that constantly tell me that I should be somewhere else doing something different, in the sense that I'm not worthy, and that. So I think we kind of covered both spectrums of the story of the car business. I mean, I travel the country, you travel the country, Mick and I go all over and talk and go to meetings, and you see both sides. You see the people who represent what Mickey represents, and you see the people who just kind of, nobody raised their hand and say, I want to be in the car business when they're in high school or college. And so unless you're born into it and it's in your blood, like it is Mickey's. And so I think together, God has put together a combo and a blessing to really, really change the industry. And I think it is changing.
Yeah, man, you guys, 13 years. And I haven't, how long, when's the first time we met? 4.5 years, 4 years? I don't know. Maybe
I think you're close. Yeah.
But I get 13 years, you've accomplished so much. And how, so, I mean, don't you think? I mean, the what you've done, I mean, obviously, like you said, Mickey, there's a foundation, and the foundation is your grandfather's grit, right? But it's incredible that what you've done and installed in the community and the reputation you have and how people and what you've grown. How many stores have you grown in the last 13 years? Because
well, it's not necessarily about how many stores that we've grown. So we just bought a new dealership last year. Stan's actually a partner in that dealership with me, and we have another partner as well. It's more about our I feel like our growth in general. So we did add a store to our auto group last year. Within the last 5 or 6 years, we've done 2, I'm going to say, extreme expansion remodels with Kia. We have 2 Kia stores, one in Battle Creek, Michigan, one in Kalamazoo. And so those are really big expansion projects to increase our service capacity, part storage, just being able to carry more inventory. But between those 2 projects, where we've seen service and parts numbers, sales numbers continue to climb. Our Battle Creek location just went through that expansion. It just was completed in May of 2026. So we're looking forward to hopefully some really good years where we can see that increase there as well. But it was really about taking what we had and trying to refine a lot of stuff that was just off at the time, trying to get that back on track and not grow too fast. For us, it's never been about number of dealerships. That I could care less about that. Don't get me wrong. If that means that it's responsible and it's right to have 10 dealerships as opposed to 5, which we currently have, I'm open to that. And I don't think that that's a bad thing at all. At the same time, we're about quality over quantity. Let's make sure that we're taking care of business the right way with what we have first. And listen, everybody's going to feel differently about that. That's a thin line topic. There were times where I felt like maybe I was playing it safe too much, making sure that we were running too smoothly before we just opened our 5th store last year. But I'm really big on, I want to make sure that we're keeping core principles important before we just go out and start growing at a rate where I've seen it happen both ways. People do that responsibly, and I commend them for that. And then people do that without giving it the proper thought, and it blows up on them. You can grow too fast, and you can lose your mission and vision in getting caught up on just the growth, not, to me, what matters more, which is what are we doing this for?
Yeah, I love that. I love it. So let's talk about how you do that. Not everybody has the belief system you guys do. So let's start it this way. What would be your definition of culture? When we look at Seelye Auto Group, how would you define culture in your stores? Your personal view of that.
I'm gonna have Stan start us.
I think culture is defined by an individual being able to 100% be themselves in a support role, or in a role that is supported by their peers to be the best version of themselves, and individually and collectively as a community to best serve each other, their customer, and the community, and that we remove all pain points and struggles that hinders that, and allow ourselves to be on one core mission, that is to serve each other, our community, and our customers with our best. And if we can evaluate that, do an autopsy on that, look at that, have hard and honest conversations of that, I think that allows people, listen, the best culture are the people when they're at their best, when they can be 100% truly themselves. Every human being wants to be truly known, but they're all afraid to be known, so they give you their agents. And in those agents, we deal with a lot of drama and things that don't necessarily work in business. But if you can peel away those layers of onions and get the person out there with that raw talent to be themselves, and get them to be confident, and get them to express themselves in the core manner of our beliefs, we watched a lot of individuals shine so bright that because of it, Seelye Auto Group shines real bright. And we just want to be able to continue to create, protect, and provide that culture for our people. Some of the ways we do it is stuff that Mickey and I have learned over the years together. We have a lot of very close friends that are both of our friends, have taught us a lot of things. We glean a lot of wisdom from others and make it our own. But some of our core principles are this, Bart, and this will hopefully give your listeners some value, something that Mickey and I have discussed, we have cultivated, and we have pruned this into our daily lives and into our work lives to be able to lead this way. And we have said this 1,000 times, so if we're repeating ourselves, it's on purpose. Questions are your allies. When you ask a question, you show respect, you show that you appreciate what the person has, that they have value, not sacrificing the relationship to be right. That right there hurts more relationships than probably anything that I know of. Being curious, not judgmental. Walt Whitman, right? Everybody's heard that one lately, especially with the TV show that's out there that's on, but that's a very big one, right? Giving the benefit of the doubt, positive intent, create a safe environment for people to be themselves and people to fail, and let them learn from their mistakes. And I think when you have a culture like that, and you you reiterate it with the top 20% that you were talking about earlier, and it just kind of bleeds from the top down. It really creates a culture where people can be honestly themselves, not be ashamed of their shortcomings or mistakes, and are able to be the best version of themselves because they have the freedom to do it without the judgment and the ability to have the resources around them to be able to execute it.
Oof, that was fire. That was so good. Now I got a lot of questions.
Sure.
How do we, when you look, and Stan, I'm going to stay with you here, my buddy, but when you look at your managers, it's because so many managers throughout the country, if we look at a DISC scale, let's take it here. DISC, right? Dominant, influencer, steady, compliant. You all know this. Everybody on the planet knows this to some extent. If you don't know it, you've at least probably done a DISC, right? But how do we take our managers, the ones that really drive these businesses, and how do we get them to be developers of people? And I'm going to do another Maxwellism, and that is the 5 levels of leadership. Level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Mm-hmm. Level 4 is people development. And there's so many businesses that say they're good managers, but don't develop their people. And I think where I've seen, this is still a question, I'm going to get to it. Where I've seen is so many of us in our industry are so good at production because we're all about bottom line, right? But where they skip it or they miss it is level 4, developing the people. So tell me about the strategy that you put into place for your managers to develop people. And then I'm going to put a little caveat to that. How's your turnover? I'm going to ask you that question first. So there's 2 questions. How's turnover? And then how do your managers develop their people? What are their strategies for developing people? I'm going to go with you, Stan, real quick on this one.
Sure. First of all, I'm going to answer the turnover in management. Our turnover in management is really, really low. We probably have lost, and Mickey can correct me if I'm wrong here. His memory is way better than mine. I would say the last 5 years, we've probably lost maybe 2 or 3 managers in the whole auto group. And what's really, and if those managers ever watch your podcast, and I'm sure they will, and they'll be able to comment on us, every single one of them at some point since they've been gone really want to come back. Because we all know the grass isn't green on the other side because they're not watering it the same way we are. And so I'll answer that. So we don't have a lot of turnover when it comes to management at all. When it comes to managers developing, I'll give you twofold to that one. One, it goes back to some of our core principles: empathy, certainty, and professionalism. You have to have empathy as a leader. You have to be able to care about your people enough where you meet them where they're at. You have to have certainty where you have vision, problem-solving skills, and you have the confidence that you can help them get past whatever obstacle. Whenever you're trying to close a car deal, Bart, you're dealing with objections, and you got to sit there and talk to the customer and help them get past their objection. It's no different than a manager or a salesperson. They have their own internal objections that they have to help them with. And the professionalism, something that I would have to honestly say, I don't know anybody better than Mickey Seelye right next to me with, is the accountability through the process consistently every single time, every single day. When you address it like that, you would be blown away at how fast you see change. Your name of your podcast is Keep the Change. I can tell you right now that I am a way better leader than I ever thought I would be or even be one because of the professionalism Mickey brings when it comes to accountability and the consistency of that change in people's lives. We have went into dealerships in our auto group and here's the other thing, you want to talk about developing people below you. What he has done for me and helping me develop, I'll go into a store, do exactly what he has taught me. And within 1 month of a store that's losing $1 million, turning around like that, because of those things that you're talking about, that starts at the top now. And that's why I think this auto group is special. One of many reasons, and why I think we make such a difference, have such an impact in our people's lives, our customers, and our community.
So, Mickey, give me some details. So I've got a store. I'm trying to turn it around. Give me some strategies that Stan's talking about here that you guys have put into place. What I'm hearing, let me make sure I get this right, because I'm working on my listening skills. I promised my wife I would work on my listening skills. But and that's what's good about these podcasts, because you have to. But when we think in terms of change, what I heard you say was put the process in place, have it be really clear, hold them accountable, and you're going to see incredible growth. That's kind of the Toledo translation for that. Would that be fair? That's Toledo Public Schools translation. Is that a fair way to look at it, Mickey?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I agree with everything that Stan said. I think you got to keep it simple for people. Not that they're unintelligent and they can't handle more. Um, but I'm listening to this book on audio right now by Craig Rochelle. It's called Lead Like It Matters. If anybody's read it or heard it, and in one of the chapters I just got through recently, I think I was sharing this with Stan yesterday, and we were doing some stuff that I just love is that Craig references a time in their church where they experienced some big growth and then they took some steps back. And he found that when they took some steps back, they were focusing on way too many things. And so for a matter of years, they had 5 focus points that they would not get outside of. They kept very, very strict boundaries, and they got together with the deacons and those that were on the board of their church, however they made decisions at that time, and it was very clear we're choosing 5 things. This is a conversation. They came up with those 5 things collectively, but once they decided on those 5 things, they stayed in those 5 things, fully committed to them, prioritized them daily, and found themselves saying no a lot more to other things and not getting distracted as much. And so I think we all can relate to that in the car industry today. I mean, just flip your computer screen on and check your emails. Look at all the people that are in your showroom that are waiting for you as a general manager with no appointment, that are trying to beat your door in, seeing they got the next best idea for you. Sometimes what you got to do is you got to trust yourself. I'm not saying don't take help or advice from others. My dad gave me that advice several years ago. He said, son, you know what you're doing. You need to start betting on yourself more. Okay. Mm-hmm. Seek help out, seek advice out, but you know that nobody's going to know this place better than you. That's what you got to remember. There's not all these other people out there that have all these great ideas for Seelye Auto Group. You've lived this your whole life. Okay. I'm not saying don't listen to them. I'm not saying don't seek out advice with people that you trust, but they don't know this place like you know it. Sometimes you got to trust yourself. And so what we've done this year is we've really done a great job, in my opinion, of just blocking out all the distractions and all the noise. Listen, we're still paying attention to the stuff that's coming at us. We're paying attention to it, but we're kind of sifting through it, and we're making sure that we're not getting pulled away from our focus, which has to be laser sharp every day. To me, if you're going to change a dealership, the only way that I know how to do that, Bart, is through daily accountability. Mm-hmm. If anybody's done it without that, I'm yet to know about it. I've yet to hear that story, and I've never experienced that on my own. The only thing that I know works is holding extremely high standards, which isn't always fun. But you better believe that if I'm going to lead others, I'm holding myself to at least the standards I'm asking them to hold themselves to, and we're going to hold each other accountable, not in a way that I want you to fail in the accountability. I want you to thrive in the accountability. I want to see you grow in the accountability. I understand that by me holding you accountable, you need that as your leader, not that you're weak or not that you're not capable, but that's my job, is to see that correctly. And it's my job to get the best out of you. And the times in my life where I've had people lead me to my best version, they understood how to hold me accountable a certain way. And then somebody has to want to thrive in that environment, Bart. And so I'll say it this way: Seelye Auto Group is absolutely not for everybody. We've lost some people over the years, and I don't think that they're bad people. Push came to shove, they wanted comfort over accountability. A lot of them, not all of them. I'm not willing to change that aspect of the business. To me, it's necessary. It's required. I have a God-given responsibility to get the best out of people that are in my life that I'm responsible for leading. It's not winning popularity contests. I don't need everybody to like me. I don't need everybody to think that I'm the nicest guy in the world. That's probably not going to please God at the end of the day. That's the one who I'm trying to honor with my life. He's called me to a leadership role that's extremely important. And so sometimes you have to be willing to muck it up a little bit with your people. Like it's, get through it, get through the hard times and get on the other side of it. And like I used to always tell everybody, you'll probably thank me later.
So can you give me an example of something that you put into place, extreme accountability, and shift happened, change, and keeping the changes occurring?
Oh man, there's a lot going on with that. I'll just speak to some of the first things that come to mind. When I took this dealership over in 13, it was not run by my family anymore. It had run it for probably 10 to 15 years. It didn't feel like my family's business anymore. And one of the first things that we had to do is we had to reestablish that we were going to run our business the right way. It wasn't being run the right way. That's a very vague, blanketed statement. But it was just run very loosely. A lot of things were acceptable as far as what was allowed with customers. We're talking about stuff that would actually just blow your mind. And for the sake of just being respectful of people's time on this podcast and some of the people out there who I hope have changed maybe since they ran this dealership that way. That's always my hope and prayer is that they've changed and done it a different way. But we're running business compliant, running business in a way where you never compromise doing right by a customer. You don't base a decision like that based on circumstantial ethics and how your doc looks that month or how it doesn't look. You make the right decision based on what's right. And those are just a couple simple things. But when you hold that high standard with your employees and with your team members and they see that, it's easy for them to follow you. And what we found is people that were doing it the wrong way, a lot of them transformed and converted to doing it the right way and were twice as successful as they were doing it the other. And I'm glad that we kept them around and we gave them an opportunity to change with us. But customer reviews, customer surveys, we have really high standards when it comes to customer service. That will never change. Anytime we have, employees that are, I'm going to say like kind of in the crossfires with a bad survey or a customer complaint, we're always taking the time to sit down with them, give them the benefit of the doubt until we can talk to them, but always take the time to go over the teachable, coachable moment, allow them to speak, allow them to share their version of it, not miss those opportunities. In the chaos of business and life, sometimes I feel like we miss those opportunities. I think you maybe even referenced that a little bit earlier with one of your questions to Stan. And that's the biggest reason for me. Like, I don't want us to grow too fast, because if you grow too fast, you miss that kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff you miss. Listen, our definition of success is impact. I believe that you can have tremendous impact with 50 dealerships. Mm-hmm. I do. There's people out there that do it. So I'm not against these big auto groups that know how to do that correctly. They're out there. Right now we have 5. I believe that we're in growth mode. I believe that we're going to grow. I believe that's what God wants for us. I'm not willing to do it at the sacrifice of having impact in the lives of the people that I'm responsible for leading, having impact in our community, having impact with customers. I mean, I was just involved today with, we call them opportunity customers, not upset customers. I can't get involved with that and help support my management team if I'm out focused on buying another dealership today. That gets missed in that conversations with our employees where I know I've helped change their lives, maybe just personally, not in business, that I don't ever want to not be a part of. And there comes a point where you got to decide, you got to choose at some point. If I'm going to choose this, I'm saying yes to this and I'm saying no to something else. So what I'm going to say is, whatever that looks like for anyone, you don't have to do it the way that I do it. You don't have to believe it the way that I believe it. Just make sure you're nothing more and nothing less than who you're supposed to be. Like, to me, I'm not trying to be anything I'm not. I don't need the approval from my peers. If I get it, great. At the end of the day, I'm here to do a job. I'm here to have impact in people's lives. And typically when I do that right and when I focus on the right things, which is the people, our dock looks pretty good too. It doesn't always go that way, but you can simplify it where most of the time when you're doing the right things, you'll take an L once in a while, but most of the time it does end up going the way that you want it to.
Yeah, so good, so good. So thank you for that. I couple things, Stan. I was reading a book from Phoenix to Atlanta, going to see Drew Sutton in Atlanta. And the book is The Quality of a Life is Determined by the Quality of Our Questions, which actually is a Tony Robbins quote, right? And the whole book was about, have you read, you're smiling a little bit.
Yeah,
the whole book,
Tony Robbins fan.
I remember the book. You want to hear the whole book?
Sure.
Don't be judgmental, be curious. That's it. And that when you said that earlier, that was so powerful. And I've got to tell you this, Mickey, this happened. I was in a meeting with a group of Maxwell leaders that formed their own side business that I'm part of. And in that meeting, they were talking about, one of the guys was talking about, there's two things that really matter: impact and income. And I thought, obviously, if we don't have income, we can't give back to our communities. We can't give back. We can't take care of our employees. We're in business to do income. And I thought that's really powerful. If it's just income with no impact, I'm not doing any good here. If it's just going to Africa, as I did for 2 weeks, and speaking with impact with no income, eventually I can't do that, right? So those two together. And I'm not even going to ask you your opinion of that, because I know your values, and I know you're a business that gives back to your community, and obviously we need to have the income to be able to do that. But when you said impact, I thought that's it. It's just such a big word right now, and it's just so much in my forefront right now about how can I make an impact today. If somebody asks me, what do you do? I say, well, my job on this planet, frankly, is to help other people reach their max capacity. That's it. That's it. That's it. And I believe that's what I've been put on this planet for at this season of my life. So, and
hey, Mark, just really quickly, just chime in. Like, I love that. I can't agree more, by the way. I just want to show up to work every day, and the people in my life, the people that I work with, my teammates, my family that I go home to, just anybody that's around me, I'm going to simplify it this way. I feel like they're going to be better by being around me.
Amen.
And I'm not saying that in a way that I'm arrogant or I feel like I'm better than anybody else. I believe that's what God has called me to.
Yeah.
And I believe that that's what he's called a ton of us to. And we need to just hone in on that and go, why would there be any good reason if somebody was going to be around me, if I was going to spend time with them? I want to choose to make sure that they walk away from whatever time they have with me and go, you know what? I'm a better version of myself because I just spent 15 minutes with Mickey.
Yeah.
If I can do that, the business part is secondary. It takes care of itself.
Yeah.
It truly does.
It does. It takes care of itself, right? And I kind of look at that way too. I'd love to hear your take on this. If we give enough impact, man, the rest of it shows up, right? If we give, if we serve, the way you do it with values, the business shows up, the business will be there. But it's all about how can we make an impact? How can we serve? How can we lift people up? And you guys are showing in your community and in your reputation nationally now, you're showing other people how to do this the right way. And it's people see it, man. And you're making a huge impact by who you are and whose you are. So I know you have for me. And even though we don't see each other a lot, I know you've made a huge impact just because of your spirit, the way you walk, the way you talk, the authenticity you come from. And thank you for that. John Maxwell, one of my favorite books, as we wrap, we got a few more minutes here. He wrote a book called The Self-Aware Leader. Have you guys read that one? That's a good.
I don't think I've read that one. I've read some of Maxwell's books, and he's amazing.
Oh, well, this particular book, it's small, but it's so powerful. And I believe in that our job as leaders is to be self-aware. you guys are, you're very self-aware guys. And he talks about that there's a part, the keys to leading yourself better. We got to lead ourselves before we can ever lead others. And again, you guys are examples of that. But he talks about four things. Followership is one, develop self-discipline, practice patience, and guess what number four is? Seek accountability. So talk to me a little bit about when you learned, and again, guys, hopefully the audience is okay with this because I could go on for 2 hours, but I know we got a limit and you guys got business to run. But talk to me. I'm going to give you this one, Stan. What's followership mean to you? When the author says learned followership, before we can even lead, we got to know how to follow. Tell me a little bit about what that's meant to you on your journey.
Sure. And if you don't mind, I'm just going to quote scripture.
No, please.
The Lord said, love me with all your mind, with all your heart, with all your strength. And he said, love your neighbor as you love yourself. That really rocked me because I think a lot of us don't love ourselves, and that's why there's addictions. That's why there's strongholds. That's why there's all kinds of things that kind of go through our lives like a tornado. And so I really try to unpack what loving yourself looks like. And it really goes right back to the four things you just said. At first I got to follow something greater than myself, something that I want to be like, my hero. Who do I want to be? What do I want to become?
Yeah.
And so I want to become what God has given me to become. And I think you said it earlier, you're helping people maximize their full potential. I want to be able to go, when God gave the talents, he gave 5 talents, 2 talents, and 1 talent. The guy with 5 talents didn't say, Lord, why did you only give me 5 talents? He was blessed that he had 5 talents and he went and doubled it, and then the guy who had 2, he went and doubled it. And the guy that had 2 didn't say, why didn't I get 5? They were grateful, they were thankful, and they were good stewards what the Lord gave them, and he blessed them more because of it. And so I think that's the definition of being a follower.
Yeah.
It's being self-aware, knowing what you're called to do, honoring and respecting and being grateful for the gift God's given you, and giving it back in multiplication because it's the first commandment God ever gave us. And blessing is full, multiply.
Yeah.
Doing that in Matthew chapter 13, the parable of the sower, is casting those seeds on all 4 souls and being faithful and consistent in that. And having good brothers around you that are going to hold you accountable, support you, and lift you up when you fall down, cheer you when you win in, and kick you in the butt when you're not doing it.
Yeah, that's Stan. Boom. When I went to Africa, it was the greatest, probably 12 days of my life without my kids or wife with me. And what I learned from that experience was, I had 27 different talks to 27 different people, guys, from littles in a slum to high school kids to leaders at the church to Bible study to theology class. Come on, man. I'm a used car salesman from Toledo. I'm doing a theology class to preaching on stage on Sunday. And it's like unbelievable experience. And there's 4 things that I taught in that. And they all go back to the 12 steps of recovery. Because I wrote a book about Keep to Change is the 12 steps, right, guys? So, but those 12 steps are great. So great in every area of life. But the first 3, admit. Great leaders admit, right? Admit. We can't do this on our own. There's always something we have to admit. We got to admit. We got to be clear of the lies we're telling ourselves, and we have to admit. Number 2, belief. You got to believe in something or it'll fall for anything, right? Number 3, decision. Make a decision. In our case, we made the decision to follow Jesus. Life is full of decisions. You're going to make good ones and bad ones. You guys have made good ones. You follow it. You walk it. You're consistent with it. You're very clear with it. And the last one is what's called accountability. It really is. It's doing an inventory and really looking at what are the lies, what's the truth, and what do you need to tell somebody. And those 4 things, I talk to every group from littles to half littles to people in church about those 4 things. And that's just that they're all humility statements, right? I admit, I believe, made the decision to follow, power greater than myself, and I got accountable because I really did an inventory of myself. And I get
Bart, can I comment on that real quick? I just want to say this. There's something about, I think all of us, especially as men, we see God the Father through the lives sometimes as the way we see our earthly father.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I didn't have my earthly father passed away last year, so I'm not going to say anything about him, but I didn't have the best example when it comes to that. But if we have a really good example of someone who walks out what you just said, it brings life to it, hope to it, and confidence in it. And I was blessed and privileged enough to watch Mickey 13 years ago take over a dealership that was ranked number one worst in reputation in the state of Michigan.
Oh my God.
Every department was completely shattered and broken. He had never been an owner or a general manager. He came and sat there, and I watched all those qualities over a 13-year period be examples and be fortitude and grit right in front of my eyes. So I was blessed enough to have an example of what leadership truly is.
Yeah.
And that not everybody gets that opportunity or that being able to be blessed that way. And when you see, it's something, Mark, it's something to go on TV and do a commercial and everything look great, or be on Facebook and talk about your vacation. But when you lose $1 million, this happens, that happens, this happens. And when you see the person behind the doors that nobody else sees, and you see everything the same person he was then, that he is then, and he is then, and he is then, and it never changed. I'm sorry, that when you get that kind of seat to that kind of life, it makes choices a lot easier in your life because you have an example that you can. I'll go back to your question. How do you follow? And I'm not saying because you just said next to me. It's easy to buy into following when you have an example that consistent and that strong.
Yeah, so good. So I kind of
I'm going to see something bad about myself right now.
Dude, it's a podcast. We want to need to share those victories and the bad, right?
But the joy that I get in that, and thank you, Stan, for what you just said. The joy I get in something like that isn't those things that he's saying about me. It's the fact that I changed this man's life. That's what I heard him say. Yeah. That I changed his life for the better by being around me and having that kind of impact in his life. That's our success. That's our definition of success. And typically speaking, to simplify the topic, I know that we've been redundant in saying it over and over, but maybe there's a reason why. Typically speaking, the success that you're looking for in business follows all that stuff. It becomes a byproduct of what you believe in, what your passion is, and what your mission is. And I know that's a cliche statement. I get it. Everybody's saying the same things on podcasts and writing the same things in books. But I'll say that we've lived it. Listen, I'm not the most successful business person in the world. I'm not the most successful car dealer in the world. I don't need to be to feel like I have tremendous impact in the lives of others. The numbers don't concern me as much as what are we doing this for? And the numbers have been really good a lot of times, and they've been acceptable to me. Don't get me wrong. I still pay attention to the business metrics. You have to, and they still matter to me tremendously. They just don't matter more than the other. And I've been an owner operator where the numbers were amazing, but I didn't feel like I was running things the right way, and I didn't feel good about it. There's been other times where I felt like all that other stuff was spot on and the numbers were not even close to what I wanted them to be. And then there's other times, more times than not, where the numbers have been a byproduct of the spirit and the heart and the posture of where we are that way. And so, nothing's guaranteed. I'm at peace with what God has for my life, through his plans. I'm at a point where I don't know how to do it any other way. I have to do it in the way that he shows me. And if that means that one of these days my car dealerships fail, I can live with that. What I can't live with is not living a life based on my belief system and following that out the way that internally I know that I'm supposed to. That much I can't live with. I would rather fail and shut the place down than be a sellout and not be able to commit to things that I truly believe in deep down. It's that simple.
Yeah. And, again, I do a lot of these podcasts, right? We don't always have these discussions. This is not normal discussions. And that's okay. I mean, everybody's got their own vibe and how they roll. If you didn't understand that somebody's hung out with us for this hour, what you get is this is a real deal. I mean, the question I have as we wrap, and I'd love to go longer, but I can't do that to you guys or the audience. But although I think the audience wants a lot more too. When you walked in and the place was a mess, was your faith as strong as it is now?
It's a good question, Bart. Well, my faith is stronger now. Just because of going through some seasons of big time trials and difficult times. I think that builds faith, at least for me it has. I'll speak for myself. I'll put it to you this way. In that, it's hard to describe how bad it really was. And I'm not trying to pump myself up to make the job that I did look better. I'll admit to anybody that's listening, I had no clue what I was doing. I was in over my head. I knew you're talking about that self-awareness and that self-assessment. Talking about following first before you can be a leader. I had the humility at that point in my life to understand exactly who I was and where I was. I never tried to be anything that I wasn't. I knew that my background was limited. I knew as far as like certain positions that I hadn't done. So I just really focused on what I had. Right. And I felt like I still had a lot to offer in the form of leadership, a heart and a spirit that wanted to make things better, desire, passion, a work ethic, and really a mindset that was focused on turning things around for the right reasons for a lot of people, not just for me. And so I stayed there. I stayed in that place. But I remember praying every day, sometimes multiple times a day. And I just remember being honest with God about it and saying, God, you already know that I'm in over my head. You know that. This is the time in my life where I truly need you. There's no more to it than that, because without you, I know that I can't get through this. So my faith was different, to answer your question, Bart. I don't know that it was stronger. Without question, though, I was in a place where this is me just keeping it real. I don't pray those same prayers to God today, because not that we've made it. Things are different today. Sometimes I wish I could go back to those places more, because when you truly need God and there's no other option and there's no other direction to turn, for somebody who's never experienced that before, it may sound bad. It's amazing. It's actually amazing. Like, you look back at that time and go, I had no other options. I knew this was my only option, was my faith, and God got me through it. And those are some of the best memories that I have following the Lord. And it's a time that you'll never forget. Sometimes I miss that. I know it may sound crazy. I don't miss the stuff that I took over. I don't want to get back to that point, but my faith is different today. It's increased. God has increased my faith through showing up in my life through some crazy situations like he has for a lot of us that have followed him for a long time. But in those years, my relationship with the Lord was different, in a way where I just needed him differently. And he showed up and brought the right people, got rid of the ones that weren't supposed to be here. By the way, he still loved those people, and he was still in their life as well. I know he was. But he knew what he was doing the whole time. It was his plan. I was part of that plan, which was really cool for this place. And it's just an honor to follow him. It's just an honor to follow him that way. It's an honor to know him, and to be able to receive his blessings and the life that he's given all of us, because he loves and cares for all of us the same way. And anything that I feel like God has done in my life that I want to share with people, I'm also sharing because he's there for you the exact same way. You've got a story too. You've got an amazing story that he's the writer of, and he wants it to be the best, and he wants it to be amazing. He's not limited to showing up for certain people. Okay. He's available for everyone the same way. And he can do those amazing things in your life as well, if you just believe it and give it a chance.
Yeah, that's so good. I'm just gonna I'm gonna land this here. When I got what I realized was, there's I talked about this in a lesson that I did: the lie, the truth, and the new life. The lie, Craig Groeschel talks about in the Winning the War in Your Mind. He talks about in that book the lies. What are the lies? All that stuff, right? Stan, all that stuff we used to tell ourselves before that sabotaged ourselves, right? And when a human being can get past that and go to the truth. But the problem with me as a new Christian, Mickey, was that I didn't really, the truth, this is the truth, the way, the life. I get all that, but I didn't know the truth. I get it 350 times he says I love you, but that's just words in a book, right? But what happened with me about 3 months ago, God said, I want you to read 10 pages in the Word every day. So I started reading 10 pages every day, and it was talking to me. But I'm a little ADD, I'm just saying. And then after I would read my 10 pages, what I did, you guys, was I said, okay, God, speak to me. And I'd set my alarm for 10 minutes, and I'd start off with, search me, God, know my heart, test me, and reveal my anxious thoughts. Let me know anything that offends you and lead me in your way everlasting. Psalm 139, 23, 24. And I start with that and sit back, and he talks to me, man. And I had this relationship, and this was before too, but I had this relationship so deep that I realized that's it. That's the new life. And I started to get that, and everything started to change. My relationship with my wife, opportunities. And my favorite song became Elevation Worship. I'm available. I'm available. I'm available. I'm available. Whatever you want, I'm available. And so I get it. And I just want to thank you guys so much, man. This is so fun. It's so fun to hang out for the last hour. We've been together an hour, guys. Mickey, your beard's grown since we started.
I don't have a beard anymore. I got a thick mustache.
I know, but you got more of a beard in the last hour because we've been here so long. But I thank you so much, guys. I really do. If somebody wants to get a hold of you, how do they do it? What would be a good way to reach out and say, man, I want to hear how you have blind faith, because that's what you had. And blind faith is still really good faith, right? Blind faith is super powerful. But if they want to get a hold of you and ask you either business questions or how do you lead by faith, how do they do that, Mickey?
Sure. Yeah, I would be more than happy to give my personal information up for a conversation like that. I think probably the best way to reach me would be through email. Not that I need any more emails, but I would take the extra email in that situation. So that is Mickey, Mickey, at Seelye, Seelye.com. And yeah, I would be absolutely thrilled to if anybody reached out through that chain. They would like to speak more about some of the stuff that we're talking about. I would just absolutely love that opportunity to spend that time with whoever that is.
Yeah, and I hear that in you. I mean, a very authentic answer to that. So thank you for that. Stan, how about you, man? How do they get a hold of you and reach out to you?
Same way, email. It's going to be squalls, so SQUALLS at Seelye.com.
Okay, thank you for that, Stan. Thank you for your journey. Stan and I met a number of years ago, and we knew right away we were kindred spirits. And I appreciate that, man. I have so much respect for both you guys. Thank you for walking the talk. Thank you for walking with Christ and holding his scarred right hand as you do what you do to lift up the kingdom. I am honored to have interviewed you today. Frankly, I'm so honored, and I can't thank you enough. So thank you to the Keep the Changers that are watching. Please, if you like this, which I know you do, go ahead and share it with somebody else. And if you haven't done so already, go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. Mickey and Stan, thank you, friends. Love you guys.
Hey, man, thank you for having us, Bart. This is awesome. Again, it's our second one, and both of them, you rocked it, man. You did a great job.
Yeah, it's all real, right? And we got to do it again, man. We opened it. Now we got to really go deep. So hopefully we'll talk to you within the next couple of months as well. Thanks, everybody. Look forward to seeing you on Keep the Change next week. Talk to you soon.